پلان یک برداشت دو.
خیلی خوب همونجا که هستی باش.
A great director's films are marked by an unforced intimacy, by their certainty that the most interesting struggle in life is that of any human being to live on our own terms. They often take place in our quietest, most contemplative spaces. Indeed, some of them are primarily about the feeling of driving around in a car lost in thought. Famously, the Iranian director Abbas Kiarostami's movies walk a thin line between fiction and reality. Some of his footage was captured in documentary fashion, while other footage was improvised from brief story descriptions or semi-scripted scenes. Jean-Luc Godard, a pioneer of the French New Wave film movement, once said, "Cinema begins with D.W. Griffith and ends with Abbas Kiarostami." Oscar-winning director Martin Scorsese said that Kiarostami represents the highest level of artistry in the cinema. One of the hallmarks of Kiarostami's directing style was his use of long takes and static shots. He often allowed the camera to linger on a scene for an extended period, giving the audience time to fully take in the characters and their actions. This technique was particularly effective in conveying the passage of time and the gradual changes that occur within a scene. By not constantly cutting between shots, Kiarostami allowed the audience to become fully immersed in the world of his films. He believed the best way to home in on the truth was through telling lies. His movies would sometimes pause for long sequences that essentially amounted to found footage slices of life. Those sequences reversed the stereotypical portrait of Iran as a backward society that threatened to take hold in the 2000s. The country was full of people with the same sorts of hopes and dreams as anyone else in the world. Another key aspect of Kiarostami's directing style was his use of a question and answer structure in his films. In many of his movies, the characters would ask a question, but the audience would be left to ponder the answers. This technique was particularly effective in creating a sense of mystery and intrigue, and encouraged the audience to actively engage with the film and think about its themes and ideas. Kiarostami's films often dealt with themes of human relationships and the beauty of nature. He often employed non-professional actors in his films, which helped to create a sense of realism and authenticity. Additionally, he often filmed in rural locations, which added originality and helped to bring the beauty of the Iranian landscape to the movie screen.
همش همینه یه دونشو بردار
من محمد علی کشاورز هستم بازیگر که در این فیلم نقش کارگردان رو بازی میکنم سایر بازیگران همه محلی هستن
In this movie essay, we analyze 5 of his best movies. Number 1, Where is the Friend's House, 1987. Kiarostami's breakthrough film with international audiences is Where is the Friend's House from 1987. An 8-year-old boy named Ahmad, who lives in a small village in Iran, accidentally takes his friend's notebook home with him. And realizing the mistake, he decides to return it to his friend's home before the next day of school. as the notebook contains the next day's homework and his friend will be punished if he does not turn it in. The film follows Ahmad's journey as he sets out to find his friend's home and return the notebook. But with no adult's help and no clear address, the task proves to be more complicated than he thought. Poke beneath the film's surface and you'll find a movie about the moral duties we owe to each other in any society, about what it means to be a good person, and about taking care of each other. Kiarostami's protagonists are often very young or very old, perhaps because those two ages allowed him to assign the greatest moral weight to seemingly very simple choices. One of the most striking aspects of Where is the Friend's Home is its focus on childhood. The film is shot from Ahmad's perspective, and we see the world through his eyes. The camera often lingers on Ahmad's small frame, emphasizes his vulnerability and innocence. The film's portrayal of childhood is both tender and unsentimental, capturing the wonder and confusion that can accompany growing up. Another important aspect of the film is its exploration of friendship. Ahmad's determination to return the notebook to his friend is a testament to the strength of their bond and the importance of friendship in a child's life. The film also touches on the theme of trust and honesty, as Ahmad's friend's notebook has a terrible secret, and Ahmad must decide whether to reveal it or to keep it to himself. Number 2. Close Up, 1990. Close Up is perhaps Kiarostami's crowning achievement when it comes to blending fact with fiction. It's based on a true story of a man called Hossein Sabzian who impersonated a famous Iranian director and then wormed his way into a film-loving family. He was arrested and put on trial for fraud. But because Kiarostami came to the story late, his documentary version was forced to rely on reenactments, mostly starring the people actually involved in the story. One of the most striking aspects of Close Up is its blurring of the lines between fact and fiction, which creates a sense of uncertainty and ambiguity, which is a recurring theme in the film. Another important aspect of Close Up is its exploration of identity and the nature of truth. Sabzian's impersonation of Makhmalbaf raises questions about the nature of identity and the power of cinema. The film also touches on the theme of class, as Sabzian is from a working class background while the family he impersonates is from a more affluent background. The film explores the way in which the class differences affect the characters and their interactions. So what is it? A documentary, a docudrama based on a true story, an attempt to take a true story and improve upon it? In some ways, it's all three at once, depending on the scene. And what's fun about it is the way that its own conception, restaged history masquerading as a documentary, parallels the film's central theme of how impossible it can be to know the truth of any other human being, even if they're telling you who they are. Number 3. Taste of Cherry, 1997. This movie, which won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, tells the story of Mr. Badii, a middle-aged man who drives around the outskirts of Tehran searching for someone to help him bury his body after he commits suicide. The film's symbolism is found in deep silences among sparse dialogue and tense visual metaphors. Something as simple as a mound of dirt being pushed onto a landfill becomes so much more when the character who's looking at the landfill is thinking about who will bury him after his death. One of the most prominent features of Taste of Cherry is its existential exploration of life and death. Throughout the film, Mr. Badi'i grapples with the meaning of life and the reasons for his own unhappiness, and we are left to ponder the reasons for his decision to end his life. The film also touches on the theme of loneliness and isolation, as Mr. Badi'i's search for someone to bury his body is a metaphor for his search for connection and understanding. Another important aspect of Taste of Cherry is its use of landscape and nature. The film was shot in a barren landscape that serves as a metaphor for the character's emotional state. The film's minimalistic visual style, with long shots of the landscape and little dialogue, adds to the sense of isolation and emptiness that pervades the film. Kiarostami filmed Taste of Cherry at close range and from the naturalistic perspective of a character driving a car around a small city. Yet Kiarostami relies on the introspection provided by these enclosed settings to raise much bigger questions about the nature of humanity and even modernity. The film's non-linear narrative structure also adds to its complexity and thought-provoking nature. The story unfolds through a series of conversation encounters, which are presented out of order, adding to the sense of disorientation and confusion that reflects Mr. Badi'i's inner turmoil.
از مزه یک گیلاس موقع بذاره نگذر من میگم رفیقتم نگذر حالا میگذر
Number 4. The Wind Will Carry Us, 1999. The Wind Will Carry Us tells the story of a group of city dwellers who travel to a remote Kurdish village to document the funeral rites of an elderly woman who is believed to be on her deathbed. As rich and sweeping as Taste of Cherry was claustrophobic, Kiarostami's story of a free spirit named Behzad and his efforts to make a home for himself in a remote Iranian village is reminiscent of other hymns to a countryside in flux, like How Green Was My Valley or Days of Heaven. It's also a departure from the rest of Kiarostami's canon. One of the most important features of The Wind Will Carry Us is its exploration of the passage of time and the transience of life. The film is structured around the waiting and anticipation of the woman's death, and as the days pass, the characters begin to reflect on their own mortality and the fleeting nature of life. The film also touches on the theme of cultural preservation and the tension between tradition and modernity, as the city dwellers attempt to document and understand the village's funeral rituals. The film's visual style, with its long shots of the landscape and its use of natural light, adds to the sense of serenity and the contemplation that pervades the film. Whereas the director's other films have a disrupted, troubled feel as Kiarostami reacts to the changing world around him, The Wind Will Carry Us feels like a celebratory reconciliation between tradition and change, between past and future. Although superficially the story is about Behzad's attempt to chronicle death, that of an old and fading relative, ultimately it evolves into a tale of his new understanding of how to be alive truly alive in a world that feels perpetually too big and perpetually on the brink of disaster.
حالا شما زحمت بکشید این را بپیچید نسخه رو به ایشان بدید. این نسخه داروی آرام بخشه. 2 تاش صبح و 2 تاش هم شب تا آب حل بکنید و به ایشان بخورید.
Number 5. Through the Olive Trees, 1994. If the films of Abbas Kiarostami were to be defined as a reflection of life as art, then how does one explain the Brendelian interweaving of reality and fiction in Through the Olive Trees, with its metafictional nature? The film is a fictionalized account of another Abbas Kiarostami movie called And Life Goes On, and Kiarostami uses the film within a film structure to explore the relationship between art and reality. The film also touches on the theme of the passage of time and the resilience of the human spirit, as the characters continue to rebuild their lives in the aftermath of an earthquake. The extremely self-aware approach of Through the Olive Trees intensifies the involvement of the audience and emboldens Kiarostami's approach of smashing the barriers between actors and characters, actors and the audience and the characters. The last scene of Through the Olive Trees has received widespread critical acclaim over time. Audiences are forced to imagine the answer to the protagonist's marriage proposal. Kiarostami has not shown her response vividly in the film. He loves to keep unanswered questions for the audience to ponder upon. The protagonist chasing his lover in the midst of the olive grove is a classic scene in world cinema. The hybrid films of Abbas Kiarostami reject categories and find life in the malleability of their forms and subjects. By creating a new space in which to play, they open the boundaries of cinematic freedom and draw the viewer into a conversation that lingers long after the film's inevitable cut to black. Kiarostami filming outside the box dissolves the borders of cinema and lets them flutter in the wind. Kiarostami always stood outside the crowd, returning to his solitude by venturing into photography, poetry and installation. Yet even these temporary departures from filmmaking contain the marks of Kiarostami's cinematic thinking and involved a further contemplation on the mechanisms of looking that Kiarostami had demonstrated since his early films. As with many filmmakers who carry within themselves experiences of living and working through political upheavals and personal tragedies, Kiarostami found a balance between pure cynicism and deep humanism in his work, as it continually questioned life in cinema. His death in 2016 was a great loss for the Iranian film industry, but his legacy lives on through his films. The films that will continue to be watched, studied and appreciated for decades to come. They are a testament to his brilliance as a filmmaker and will continue to inspire and touch the hearts of audiences for many generations to come. His death in 2016 was a great loss for the Iranian film industry, but his legacy lives on through his films. The films that will continue to be watched, studied and appreciated for decades to come. They are a testament to his brilliance as a filmmaker and will continue to inspire and touch the hearts of audiences for many generations to come.